After you speak, you can sign in on the clipboard. Thanks.
Stacey O'Brien, 42 Mount Road. I wasn't going to speak tonight. I thought I said it all last time, and it sounds like you did hear at least some of what we said, and I appreciate that. But I received an apology email from a health teacher on Friday, and it made me really upset. It made me feel like we're making this one teacher a scapegoat, and it made me question whether anyone actually got my real point. It wasn't just one piece of paper handed out by one teacher that was the issue. The handout's a symptom of a much bigger problem. My point was that the entire assignment is defensive and outdated. The entire health curriculum needs an overhaul. I think we all agree on that. Please don't add more weeks of classroom time, though. We remove all the insensitive and outdated assignments. If we remove everything that's long past being relevant, we'll have room to add some of the more current topics we want to address. And please keep looking for alternate solutions. But going back to the handout. Many parents have asked me since the last meeting to name a child's teacher. I've refused. Both of my kids have had this teacher, both of them love this teacher. Plus, at least 3 different 12th grade health teachers gave this assignment. While they may not all have distributed the same handout, all 3 of them assigned a project that insinuated children with special needs or problems. When I spoke 2 weeks ago, I chose my words carefully. I said staff members weren't paying attention. I didn't say teachers, and that was on purpose. I'm calling out staff members because that includes supervisors and administrators. The handout came from somewhere, and a lot of people saw it. How many years was it copied? How many students received it? Over the years, no one else ever caught it or spoke up. And I'm not talking just about 12th grade class. I'm talking about the culture and climate in our district. I'm talking about how the signs for wheelchair-accessible parking spaces were covered at Ridge almost a week, and no one noticed. Finally, I called Mr. Krause. He came out personally and took them down while I was there. But until I brought it up, no one noticed. That's my point. No one noticed the parking spaces, no one noticed the offensive email, no one noticed an outdated offensive slant to entire movement. And by the way, no one noticed the still that the buses block the crosswalk at Ridge every afternoon, so all the students on crutches who leave a few minutes early can't get to their parents' cars. I also found out this week that the personal finance online option has been changed. It's been decimated, honestly. My first thought when hearing this was, and I know you're all good people, and I know you personally, but my first thought was, why do you hate us? My oldest child took personal finance over the summer. I'm so glad he did. It helped open up his schedule during the year so he could take electives he wanted. He has 19, he gets extra time in assessments. Taking that class online allowed him to work at his own pace. He didn't need an aide or a special ed teacher to help him. He completed it entirely on his own, something he can't do very often with his other classes. If you force the students to come in over the summer to take personal finance tests, like it's proposed right now, not only does it conflict with vacations that have already been booked, so it's kind of unfair, but also, are you prepared to provide special education teachers? Are you prepared to pay them to stay late for all the students who need extra time on tests? And if you consider the option 2, whether it's for personal finance or for PE, reduce the stress for students and families. Why are we taking away everything that makes life easier for us, everything that makes life better? So if you want to know what the stress is, that's one of them right there. Some of the things are working. Why are we trying to fix the things that aren't broken? Can we keep the things that work? Can we please keep those and focus on fixing things that don't work? Thank you.
I missed the last meeting because I was at work, and but I've been following along with what's going on, and it made me realize that a lot of the stuff that I'm sitting here listening to everyone talk about are things that I feel like we've been talking about for a long time. And it made me go back and look at some of the stuff that the parents came to the board Board of Education and asked for it. And I kept thinking, gosh, these sound like things that we talked about. And I actually pulled up the email that I sent to the board on behalf of the 1,200 Parents for Change members that had gotten together back in 2016. And at the beginning of 2017, in January, we actually delivered to the board a list of requests, many of which at the elementary and middle school level. It's amazing when I go back and look at that list, how many things have been accomplished at the elementary and middle school level. And I now have a middle schooler, and I can say that with great confidence that it's changed tremendously, that the counseling department is better, it's different. Somebody asked me how it's better. I said, I don't know, it's just better, and they're just doing a better job. But when I look at what we asked for the high school, it's for some reason the high school somewhere got lost. And I just wanted to take a second, and hopefully I won't take too much time, and just read to you a couple of things that we said in 2016, early 2017, so close to 2 years, just 2 years ago. And these are some of the things that we asked for. Actively encourage and support the Ridge Wellness Program's goal of creating a student lounge. That never happened. Look at sports team practices. There are too many teams overlapping and expanding into other seasons, creating situations where kids are sometimes juggling 2 sports at once and juggling a demanding school schedule. That never happened. One of the number 3 on our list was revisiting the health curriculum. So we're finally getting there after 2 years. But one of the things that we did say was focus the message on how the kids can help themselves and how they can get help, align with current research, and bring in outside community officials, community professionals to assist. I know this came up last week, and we still believe that bringing in some outside consultants to look at this problem might really help us to get to where we need to be. Consider taking 1 day per semester as a break day. Students still come to school but participating in SEL workshops that are non-academic in nature. Make these days tech-free days. Allow students to eat outside and have access to fresh air during the day. Reinstate challenge day. I know that was a big discussion. Imagine if we could start the school year with the message that this is a New Ridge High School. We'd be amazed at the difference in our kids. Challenge day is the perfect way to do that, and it's an amazing program. Expand the project adventure curriculum, which we're now finally getting back to. Limit the amount of testing throughout the year and look at that time to spend with additional health curriculum. That was another one. Reconsider rotating drop schedule, which we're still considering. And this is my most favorite thing that we asked for that we never discussed again. Help teach our children what it means to be a member of our community. For example, turn the sophomore community service project into something really meaningful. Many of these kids are going through the motions and learning nothing. Consider partnering with 5 or 6 charities that the kids can choose from and have designated service days throughout the year that the kids can attend with those organizations. Not only will they be learning community service, they will be doing it with other students and connecting with each other. This can only lead to positive results. Those are some of the things that we talked about. I'm happy to read forward that list to you guys that we did in 2017. And like I said, I think that the progress that we've made at the elementary and middle schools has been tremendous. And I hope that the discussion with the community and some of the parents will encourage you guys to go back at some of these issues and maybe we can finally solve them. Thank you.
Nowhere in what Stacy asked for by the Parents for Change did it say to take away what's working and to add graded health lessons. Nowhere in there did we ask to add stressors. So in your letter of February 1st, you noted that a comprehensive evaluation of the entire health program is planned over the next year. You left the 11th grade health curriculum at 1 marking period for now, saying that additional adjustments may also be made after next year, like leaving the door open for adding it in junior or senior year the following years. If you know that an entire overhaul of the health program is needed, of a comprehensive evaluation which will take at least a year, and you were able to hold off on adding health classes to next junior class, then why not wait and do not add any additional health classes, including next year's sophomore class, until well into and the health program is updated and that's completed first. I think that's really our big question here. Are we adding health classes? Because over 550 people are telling me that's stressing us all out. That's going to stress the kids out. There are better solutions than that. That's something we feel is working. And it's being taken away to add something that is stressful. I can tell you my family's been stressed ever since we thought of it. Another part of this is parent and student involvement. I've heard about, we've surveyed the teachers, but the New Jersey State Department of Education, New Jersey AC 6A 83.1 requires that school districts encourage community involvement in the development and review of all curricula that includes health education programs. A curricula advisory committee that represents the community and periodically reviews curricula is in all contents areas is likely to use community members' interests and build community support. Committee members may consist of parents, family members, teachers, administrators, goes on, including students. Members should represent a diverse community value and belief in order to ensure that information regarding instructional programs is shared across the community. That was never done here in this district. And you can talk about strategic planning meetings, but nowhere was it mentioned in any of the 3 meetings that you were taking the option to or gym away and adding a health class. It was never mentioned there. And so that's why you heard nothing about it. If you had mentioned it and there was transparency before, you would have heard the outcry a lot sooner, and maybe we could have had that conversation at the meeting. But that was left out, so nobody discussed it. And that's very necessary. So why it wasn't brought up? How did you see that community involved? How do you not need to see the importance here? I mean, I'd really like you to develop this committee. I think we need it. I think parents and students should be included in this discussion. It sounds like it's in the state of New Jersey, the Department of Ed, requirement. Hopefully you'll consider that, because I think it's something that you should be doing already. And we wouldn't have found ourselves here if all stakeholders were represented. The other part I wanted to mention is about, if you do go forward with this, and I hope by tonight you can let us know where you're leaning on this. You keep saying future meetings are coming on the topic, but I think you already know where you're going, and I'd like to get an idea for that, because you pushed up scheduling. Freshman classes are already basically going by the fact that health class is going to be added. And if it is, then that's going to be a problem. And I can tell you another part of that New Jersey Department of Education law is that parents want to excuse their child from family education. There's a process for that. And I think because of this, you're going to find a lot of excuses. So that's also something you might want to consider. I really go back to that we want to ask you to stop the train. We all know this is a big problem. We all know that there's a lot to this. I don't know why we have to rush on it. This adding of classes before we're even at the point where we have a curriculum that's functioning correctly doesn't make sense to me.
Excuse me, ma'am, you have about 1 minute to go.
Thank you very much. To stop going forward on this. I'd like to hear about that. And I do appreciate and I admire many of you, but I'll tell you something, when you speak about behaviors we don't want to role model for our children, I have to say I was very disturbed myself at the end of the last board meeting when it was me and maybe one other parent, and there was a lot of vitriol coming out of all of you. Okay? But it works both ways. We need a committee so that we can all work together. It's got to be a two-way conversation. It seems very one-way. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else for public comment?
Still turn out 105 Tuxford Terrace. glad Elaine mentioned the modeling of behavior. That was something that I left with that really bothered me. If we're going to model behavior that our kids can follow, I have to tell you, I will never bring them to a board of education meeting. That's where I saw last time. It's okay to have a dissenting opinion. It's not okay to physically behave in a way that's embarrassing to others. I was embarrassed for our community. I'd like not to see that again. Moving on to the SEL, I have a question about the data being collected. Is that data being sold? Is it being held? If that data is being collected, is it something that's going to follow the children through the course of their lifetime? When reading about SEL, and I'm not letting it unseen, I'm seeing articles about that SEL data points are being used for future Medicaid payments, and I don't like that. That means if that data is sold, that districts are getting money, and I'd like to believe that that's not happening in Baskin Ridge. Also, if the data shows that children are perhaps experiencing things in this, like now, they're not able to purchase certain items in the future, I need reassurances that that data isn't being held here or being sold. If it's strictly for modeling programs, that's fine. I agree with no health classes in 11th grade or adding them, or if you're still doing CPR. I also like to suggest don't put health classes in the first and second marking period. Having twin girls, I see things a lot faster, a lot more intense. The first and second marking periods were quite busy with applications for both early action and regular decision. So the first and second marking period, in addition to their studies, they were busy with trying to apply to colleges. And there's not a lot of extra time. In terms of character education, help me understand, is it the school's role to teach children to have good character? I think the school's role is to reinforce good character, not teach them good character. As far as I'm concerned, good character starts at home. If parents aren't teaching it, well then we as a community, we need to start pointing it out to our neighbors and friends that that character is unacceptable. What I don't want to see is that we're teaching that in school. It should be a reinforcement, especially at the preschool level. I was reading, I do a lot of reading, a lot of time. Reading about the rates of depression and anxiety among young people in America, and it's been steadily increasing for the past 50 to 70 years. It says here that today, by at least some estimates, 5 to 8 times as many high school and college students meet the criteria for the diagnosis of major depression and anxiety disorder, as was true half a century or more ago. What's interesting about it is that the generational rise in young people's depression and anxiety has to do with people's sense of control. Believe it or not, back during the Great Depression and World War II, the levels of anxiety and depression were far less than they are today. That comes from children's feeling that they don't have a sense of control over their personal skill sets. The way to give these kids a sense of that is to teach them skill sets so they are confident. That lack of confidence gives them anxiety. So when the anxiety gives them a sense of helplessness, that increases their depression.
Excuse me, ma'am, you have about 1 minute to go.
Thank you. I'd like to see a shift towards activities that focus on intrinsic qualities, things that will allow students to develop for themselves, the type of person they want to be, to go after the type of items that, make them happy. Do I want to be a better basketball player, I want to be a better musician, or I want to learn to do robots. I think it's important that we give them an opportunity to grow internally, because the external stuff is meaningless. And that, I think, is where the stress is coming from, that lack of a sense of their personal skills. And I think through scouting, I think through mentoring, that's what I mentioned at last meeting, having older students mentoring younger students, having teachers mentoring, perhaps 10, 15 students that are assigned to through the course of the high school. I think those things will strengthen a student's sense of feeling of belonging. Thank you.
Hi, Alicia Martini, 118 Blackburn Road. After last meeting, I think it's clear that the entire current health curriculum needs to be revised. While we hope that one project mentioned is an authentic one being offered, I think it is indicative of an old, outdated curriculum that has not been thoroughly looked at in a long time. As someone in the audience mentioned last meeting, we don't expect to teach every concept in chemistry, and we should have that same philosophy regarding health. Rather than trying to include everything, we should choose the concepts that are most meaningful to our community. The survey should be given to the students, asking them what they feel are the topics that are most needed today. And then research then going forward, seniors should be surveyed every year regarding the topics that were most meaningful to them and any new issues that should be covered. The health curriculum should be current and fluid, constantly changing based on the needs of our community. Last meeting, Mr. Feller stressed how little time they have for health. If the first day of health is spent in the gym doing nothing. If time is so precious, why are we wasting an entire day? Can't the students be scheduled with a health teacher or counselor before the year is in charge? Additionally, as we mentioned, spending the last 15-20 minutes of many health classes on their phones. In revamping the curriculum, I think the time given to cover certain topics obviously needs to be examined as well. 6 weeks to cover CPR course that many of us have taken in 3 hours. 1 week to discuss contraceptives. Students don't need a history of every contraceptive ever created. 9 weeks for driver's ed. Driver's ed should focus on teaching what is in the driver's manual and what is on the driver's exam. There are many additional concepts covered that are unnecessary. For example, a large amount of time is spent on the project about buying and financing a car. Another good chunk of time is spent on the curriculum of insurance. There's actually a test on the different insurance coverages. Both loans, financing, and insurance were covered in the required financial literacy course that my daughter took over the center. So removing these repetitive and less valuable topics that free up room for discuss more important subjects such as drinking and driving, responsible decision-making, and peer pressure. Now, the how the curriculum is delivered should also be you have to remember that by high school, these students know the basic facts about these topics. We really don't need to reteach them. We need days to introduce and review, and then move on to more beneficial learning. Our students waste too much time in these classes taking notes off of PowerPoint and then memorizing facts and statistics so they can spit back out onto a quiz. An endless exercise where these facts are forgotten as soon as they are leveled in on that stamp. We should be doing better. What is more meaningful to our students? Doing a project about the symptom of an STD, or reading or watching a video about someone living with AIDS, or reading about someone who became sterile and couldn't touch them later in life because of an STD. Another example is a senior health project where the students have to carry around a doll or a stuffed animal for a week. Is this really preparing them for having a child, or is it a negative enough experience to discourage them from having unprotected sex? How many of us do the same project in high school? I know I did. I think I had to carry an egg for it. When I had my first child, trust me, I never said, thank goodness I carried that egg for a week. Watching guilt-stricken parents and all the hardships they have to go through and the sacrifices they have to make be a more purposeful experience. If you want this new health curriculum to be successful, much more time needs to be taken developing lessons that actually have meaning to our students. Opportunities for them to reflect and these concepts to our own lives. At the last meeting, Mr. Byrne made a few comments at the end that I felt were important. In the presentation, it was stated the rationale for adding these extra courses to address many of the issues our community is facing: suicide, opioid abuse, extreme stress and pressure. As Mr. Byrne pointed out, the cause of these issues is never explained. If we can't identify the cause, how can we come up with a solution? And how do we know that extra health is the right solution? Mrs. Clark mentioned in her presentation that we are modeling our health program after Ridgewood, who has the best health program in the state. But come to find out, Ridgewood still has the same, if not worse, problems than we do. So adding extra health, particularly health topics that are not specific to the needs of our students, is not going to help with these issues.
Excuse me, ma'am, you have about 1 minute.
If we took the time to work as a community to identify the causes of these issues, and then together, solutions could be developed that could actually make changes for the better. There are so many talented students and members of our community that have great ideas about how to improve the daily lives of our children. A few were mentioned, I'm just going to mention a few, none of these are mine, I wish I could take credit for them, but they're not. Make the first day of each marketing period not academic day. We all watched or so impressed about Prospect's presentation on their SEL initiative. Why can't we do something like that at Ridge? All the students and faculty could be divided into mixed age teams and take part in age-appropriate SEL activities. These teams can stay together all 4 years with freshmen or kids who graduating seniors. Having connections to adults and other students in high school is a major indicator of overall health and well-being. Ms. McKeon, you actually mentioned Ridgewood had a no homework day and how well it was received. Why can't we do that for PRFIS? Or better yet, maybe that week before Wednesday half day used for staff development, the students are given no homework and are actually able to relax and enjoy one afternoon and evening every marking period with friends and family. And then again, the chill out space at Ridge, which was mentioned earlier, that has been discussed for years and still has been. These are the kinds of changes that we should be working to implement. We should not just take the easy way out and just add another class so that the powers can be and say, look, you wanted more, so we gave you more. Rather than adding more, let's shift our focus to adding meaning and value.
My name is Marie Foster Prada. I'm a parent of 2 daughters. One is a freshman and one is a senior finishing up at Ridge High School. I live on 415 Mountain Road. I'm also a teacher in the Minden Public Schools. The colleagues here are a little bit different than what we see in Minden. However, I work very hard to raise our children and teach them great things at home. And so as a result, we have a daughter that's a cheerleader in high school. She has run track and all the running teams for all 4 years. She's very dedicated to the school, and we really appreciate everything that you have done in terms of putting thought into the program. And once again, it is hard to understand what's happening in the mental health issues. However, I'm just here as another example, and I hear from my daughter who's doing homework. She wanted to speak, but she also said, talk to the students and they'll let you know that the health program is perhaps not up to par, and certainly the ladies in the audience have said it very nicely. They learn a lot at home, but I understand they need support in school as well. So we support you in that effort. So I'm just here to let you know that great. You could think about postponing, thinking about putting this through so quickly. I believe it does need some time and thought, as we're all thinking about. I believe that the students do need the option 2 in the study hall, and I know in the last meeting other parents got up and expressed that desire. So please think about it. I believe they need balance in life, and the students need choices. I think the option 2 in study hall gives them that feeling that they are given choice, and I thank you for efforts again. Is there anyone else for public comment?
James Hopeful, 20 Evergreen Place. Last week, a letter was sent home with high school health students apologizing for the offensive and outdated materials on birth defects and disabilities. It falls far short because you have yet to acknowledge the real problem. Students with physical disabilities who are told they can't go to Oak Street School because there's no elevator. This is the real problem. You're covered by federal law by not having to install one. But last summer, one entire grade level was moved to the ground floor for a non-disabled student in a wheelchair due to serious illness. And this was the right thing to do. If this was done for a student without a disability, why was it never done for students with disabilities? When my twins were a year old, we asked an OSS member, staff member, how many kids with Down syndrome were at their school. They said none that they could remember, followed by, quote, besides, we don't have elevators, unquote. Now, the overwhelming majority of people with Down syndrome are perfectly capable of using the stairs. And a person who believes that this equates to needing an elevator, well, that's ableism. As I mentioned at the last board meeting, ableism is defines a person by their disability and as inferior to people who are not disabled. Allowing this mindset to continue within the staff is the real problem. Students with disabilities are being told they cannot take elective classes that have no prerequisites is the real problem. At a June 2017 Board of Ed meeting, my wife, Sharon, and I, and several other parents of children with disabilities gave public comments on district-wide issues in special education. At the end of the meeting, Mr. Markarian said that there would be a follow-up, and there would be a presentation at a future BOE meeting. There was no follow-up or presentation. That the district-wide issues brought to your attention appear to be dismissed by you as irrelevant is the real problem. At that same BOE meeting, you recognized various achievements of numerous students. Neglected amongst the board's recognition was a disabled student who delivered the keynote speech at New Jersey's Dare to Dream Student Leadership Conference. Unlike her non-disabled sister who was recognized for her achievement, this student remained in her seat the entire evening. If you think the failure to recognize disabled students was a one-off thing, you're wrong. I had to go digging back 17 years to find any formal board recognition of students with disabilities participating in that same event, and that student gave the keynote speech not even 2 years ago. And here we are in 2019, where not one of the district's 840-plus staff members thought this merited any recognition at all. It seems obvious that no one cared and gives the impression to us as parents and to the community that kids with disabilities are invisible to you and treated as a separate class of citizens. This is the real problem. You're not moving forward with a positive culture of acceptance and inclusion of the disabled. You're moving us backwards, and you've taken us out of the collective picture. There are other things, too, that I feel that I must disclose here tonight so that no one continues to dismiss the needs, dignity, integrity, and safety of over 800 students with learning and developmental disabilities in our district. Reporting inappropriate touching of your child with a disability should never be met saying, and I quote, "It's not my responsibility," unquote. Finding out not from district faculty, but your 9-year-old child that her sibling with a disability ran off school property, bordering a busy road, multiple times, and having a principal explain that they don't have to tell you because they never did before. Discovering that after reporting the inappropriate touching of your child, that same staff member had been assigned more time supervising your child the following year. How do I know these things have happened? Because that child is my daughter. We are not the only family to have these things happen, but to our knowledge, we're the only ones up until now to comment publicly on these injustices. What I've outlined here tonight highlights what the real problem is with disabilities in our district. So it's not just an archaic and offensive health curriculum or an assignment. Residents are appalled because this is 2019, and this should not be happening.
Excuse me, Mr. Bolt, we have about 1 minute.
Thank you. In an era where it is totally unacceptable to have to stare down the ugly face of ableism and discrimination against people with disabilities, you must now accept your role in turning the page. We are committed to working together with you to address these issues to discover a path towards a paradigm shift needed to right these wrongs. A great place to begin would be to establish a task force on disability with a board-appointed chairperson to work with parents to achieve this goal. Together, let's elevate our disabled students as equal members of the student body, learning side by side with their peers so that they are acknowledged as having lives worth living and lives you believe are worth enriching. Thank you. Copies for everybody.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Okay, if not, I'll close public comment at this point. Okay.
I want to say something, because I feel like Mrs. Perna was calling me out, because sometimes I get frustrated, I have no poker face. So if you see me sitting up here and frustrated, sometimes it's because someone's standing down there like preaching to me about what it's like to be a parent of a rich kid. When I am a parent of a rich kid, I know exactly what it's like. Okay? And also that, and getting emails saying us we're taking the easy way out, that we don't care about kids, that it's too late in high school to teach kids about like SEL or anything like that. And I know, Jen, I got your email. I'm sorry, I got buried in my junk, and I apologize for not getting back to you. And that's where my frustration comes in, because you're telling us, like, we're ignoring the problems, that if we don't care, that's shameful. I mean, the stuff people are saying it's hurtful. It's like, I'm a mom too, and I have kids on the track team all year round. I have kids doing sports. Anything we're doing up here, I have to do too. My kids have to do it too, okay? And if you want to know what the real problem is, no one talks about how the kids are overscheduled. No one talks about that as being a problem. No one's complaining about their club teams having practice till 11 o'clock at night. Or no one's quitting those teams because they're going to those guys and saying, oh, I never hear anything like that. No one's saying like that when I have to pull my kid out of school on a Friday because the tournament starts on a Friday for hockey, I don't hear anyone saying, you know what, I'm not going to do that because that's not good for my kid. So, you know, that gets frustrating when everyone wants to know what the problems are, but taking like one like marking period of option 2 is the problem. When there's a lot of problems, there's a lot of overscheduling, or kids taking too many AP classes, or too many, they're up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. We accept that as normal. Kids being up to 2 o'clock in the morning in high school doing homework, that is not normal. That's abnormal. So if some real solutions would be limiting AP courses, limiting honors courses, or things of that nature, but no one wants that either. So it's hard to come up with a balance when no one wants to sacrifice anything for anything. And and that's the frustration. And I apologize if my face up here. If I feel attacked for trying to come up with a solution that might work for everybody, where the professionals at the school are trying to say, you know what, this is what we need, and everyone wants the health curriculum redone, and I think we are redoing it. Isn't that the whole point, is to revamp the whole curriculum? And that is happening. But, it just gets frustrating. Like, no one comes up, like, everyone wants, like, the solution for them, but it's never going to work for everybody. So, and that's where it comes in out. Sorry if I offended anyone, but, like, it just gets hard. And if you sit up here, you would understand how hard it gets to hear constantly that, no, you don't care. No, you don't want the best for everybody. And it's not true. It's just not true.
I didn't say that, though. I know you said my name. I just
No, you just emailed me. I know you.
It was a kind, friendly, inquisitive email.
Yeah, we can't get into a doctor anymore. I'm sorry. Public comment is closed. We can't get into a whole conversation up here, because if we started doing that on a regular basis, that could get really interesting. We'd never finish our meetings. But all of us are willing to talk to you guys at any point. I mean, we always take phone calls. I think I can speak for everybody up here. We're part of this community. Our kids go to school here, and we're always willing to talk to people. And these aren't easy issues, and I think everyone has many of the same concerns. We have kids that have lived through all the stuff that you're talking about ourselves, and so I think what Jen is expressing is, if there was an easy answer that didn't cause any trouble for anyone, we would have done it, and it would be such an obvious solution. There isn't an easy answer that isn't going to bother somebody in some way or another. We're trying to come up with something that would help.
So I think the the feedback about health. I think health is sort of a proxy, as far as I'm seeing it, for SEL, the overall topic. And I think the problem is we're couching what we're doing for SEL as answers, which is a misnomer. Everything's a guess, because I share Mr. Burns' frustration too. There's no answer, because nobody knows what works, and there's no way to quantify what we're doing, because how can you figure out whether the kid, we did the exercise during strategic planning, what's the perfect graduate, and unless you're churning out all of that, it's impossible to quantify what we're doing working. So I think everything's a guess in SEL curriculum. So I think from our perspective, at least from my perspective, sitting through the strategic planning committee, stress was a top on everybody's list of challenges in the district. So when we said, okay, we're going to do a revamped health curriculum and give kids more programming, we saw that as our next guess that would give some immediate gratification of what we're going to do next for SEL. The weaving into the curriculum, those are things that happen over multiple years, but we thought, I think the rationale was, here's more programming that we can provide to kids during school hours, so they have to sit through it because they don't have time after school. So when is the time? There is no time. It's a finite resource. So how can we carve some of that out to give the kids more awareness? And clearly that was not, it was our best guess at the time. So this whole process is a feedback loop, right? We heard this when we were on the advocacy committee, when we went to go talk to the kids about block scheduling. We throw something out there, like we said, we're going to paint a green letter R on all this walls in Ridge, and they said, yeah, that was close, but you should have had the art students do murals. Okay, so that's part of the loop. I mean, it needs to go in a circle. So the fact that we, I think, propose something doesn't mean it's ironclad. It means here's our best guess now, based on what we have. Tell us what you think, and then we'll take that into consideration. Nothing's being forced on anybody, and we're trying to make the best guess with the information that we have. So I think that from my perspective, we're trying to make the best guess at a solution, which is, again, a solution and answer are bad words. The best guess at what can help. And if that doesn't work for the community and for the students, then we hear that feedback and we say, okay, should we scrap that or massage it or go on to the next thing? And that's part of the feedback loop. But I share some of the feelings probably on both sides that, saying that what we're doing is shameful or that we're disrespecting the kids. I don't, clearly that's not what I hope you don't mean that we should feel ashamed of ourselves, and because I don't feel that way when I hear the feedback. I just wish that the feedback could say, wrong idea, try X, Y, Z, or scrap that, move on to something else, not you should be ashamed of yourself for thinking that, because you don't understand the kids. I think that I don't have high school kids. I don't understand high school kids in this district right now, and I'm learning more and more. So I think just, like I said, the iterative process of trying to refine what we're doing is the only answer. There's no answer in SEO. The only answer is to keep trying new things and refining those things. So that's what I wanted to say on the SEO topic.
I'm still on the question of what is causing the problem for the kids. The parents are saying, gee, it's too much stuff. Well, maybe it is. But what's character training going to tell us about? Is it the ones that don't have good character that are in trouble? I don't have any idea. What's the culture? Is the culture bad? What is the culture problem? We haven't, in my opinion, defined any of that, and yet we're developing a new program that's supposed to accomplish something, but I haven't heard one thing that it's going to focus on. I haven't heard one thing that it's going to try and correct. And my problem is not with the elimination of the study halls and things. My problem is I don't think anybody here has a clue of what they're trying to accomplish. I think it's all for show, and there's no intellectual effort been put into it. I think the key here is, what are we trying to accomplish? If we don't know, maybe we want to hire somebody to come in and take a survey and find out we're going to start this program, and culture and character training, my gosh, what are we trying to fix? Is that the problem? Maybe it is. If it is, let's do it. But if it's not, why should you worry about it? And so my problem is the lack of knowledge, the lack of understanding, and yet we're trying to charge ahead, and I think that's a mistake.
I think, trying to figure out the causes of all of the angst in society and what's going on is a complex picture. I think we have guesses, of what we think might be contributing, and some of them probably are backed up by some significant research at this point. One example that came to mind, Mike, when you're saying, what are we even trying to teach, and we didn't even know that there's anything, specific and concrete, came to mind because our meeting when we went to Liberty Corner with the student government kids, they said it really well. They were talking about some of the different programs at Liberty Corner, and one of them is one where the kids get trained in conflict resolution, and they go with the younger grades at recess and help the kids who are having trouble sharing or playing a game or getting along. And they were talking about learning these skills for conflict resolution, and they specifically articulated that they hoped that when they go to Annan, that they could still, use those skills and keep learning those skills, because there's going to be all these different kids. They're not going to know everyone. There's going to be kids from all 4 schools. And as one of them said, people get meaner when they get older. So they were hoping that they could use those skills when they got to Annan to help their friends get along and help, everyone in the building get along. So that's like a skill that kids can learn. It's not something that just comes naturally to everybody. And it's something that adults need to know, in the workplace and in their life. So those are the type of skills, specific things that kids need to know how to do. It's not just like culture in a really vague sense. Anyone else? Yeah. Okay, so we're at Board Forum. We had listed on Board Forum to talk about the Higher Expectations book, which is all about SEL. I feel like it's the SEL night. What do you guys feel? To start it? Okay, so this is a book, Higher Expectations, that the staff was using. This book, I think, was the 6 to 12 staff, and Sean, have all read this book. So it's Higher Expectations, Promoting Social Emotional Learning and Academic Achievement in Your School. So the board, as one of our board goals, was going to read this book and discuss it. So for tonight, we were just talking about the first 3 chapters, which was really just an introduction about what SEL is and why we're talking about it. Everyone's just looking at me. So basically, a lot of it has been already mentioned by people who came up for public comment about coming up with a comprehensive plan and getting everyone on board. I don't think we're quite there yet, because I think there's still a lot of confusion, among everybody about what exactly is SEL and why are we talking about it. So I don't know, Sean, do you want to chime in about the staff conversations that might happen surrounding this in the book?
Sure. Yeah. So we actually kicked off the school year at the in-service talking about this topic. That with staff, we decided we're going to do 2 separate books, one for our elementary staff and then one for the secondary staff. And we ran it similar to what we did when we did Ready from the Inside Out last year, where we tried to break down into smaller groups and have them read it throughout the year. And the theme for our in-services, which was a little bit different this year, is that we're trying to keep SEL focused for all of our in-service days, which we hadn't done in the past. So this most recent day for 6 to 12 was really a mental health focus for our staff, both at Haddon and Ridge. A little bit different, but kind of in that ed camp model where staff are able to choose their sessions, and they also have a lot of flexibility and this idea that if it's not for them, they can leave and try another one. So we gave them a lot of freedom. We also had vendors coming in from the community and offering them all kinds of services that they could take up on their own. And we didn't have that health fair data, but we had sessions where they could attend and work together. K-5 staff, we've not done that. Our goal is to try to work on the topic with our staff. Our K-5 staff beginning next year, because it's a mandatory training we have to do without the year. But it's certainly not lost on us that we also need to address K-5 staff as well. But these two books and the themes for the books are really what's guiding all of our in-service work throughout the school year. But we've already touched on some of the initial topics and chapters. I think we only read 26, page 26, which is just the first 3 chapters, very, very short chapters. But some of the things that it talks about there is obviously the shared vision, the fact that you need a culture within your building that's ready to embrace some of the ideas of SEL. And I think that's part of our goal is to try to get this common language amongst our staff, that it isn't just this idea of mindfulness. There's so much more to SEL than these buzzwords that we hear about, and there really does have to be buy-in. And I think our staff have to see that our emphasis isn't just on helping our students, but also on them, because we do value them incredibly, and without them being secure and feeling comfortable, they won't be as effective as they can be with our students. So the book speaks to that. Obviously, it really lays out the first 3 chapters. It really just gives you the basics, SEL 101. And actually, I just received in the mail, we subscribe to ASCD, which is a curriculum development organization. Many of you might be familiar with this. And actually, the topic of this month's text that we received is SEL instruction. And it's actually dovetails nicely on some of the concepts in this book. So it maybe makes me a nerd, but I'm actually excited to read this book. Hopefully that might be reading it tomorrow, in fact. I might have some time, maybe. But anyway, a lot of the ideas in that text, as I just flipped through it today, I thought there are some really good ideas that we could use with our staff in that ASCD text. So I'm hoping that my colleagues, if they don't have a copy, I might be purchasing them just for the admins. But again, the first 3 chapters, very basic, lays out, especially for board members, I think it gave you a little bit more of a flavor than just what you've heard here in board meetings, more than just mindfulness. But I think one of the things that it talks about is getting buy-in from your staff within the building. And I will stop talking and let others ask questions or make comments.
I think one of the things that I'm hearing a lot of is a little bit of a confusion between the fact that we're looking at this book and SEL and health curriculum. These are not the same thing. And I think this, some of the stuff that's outlined in this book, and it's not perfect, but is talking about integrating a lot of these ideas, and the idea of SEL being decision-making. So sure, in health, we've got a lot of decision-making points where we can talk about drug use and alcohol use and things like that in a health curriculum. But it also can be introduced in the English curriculum when you're talking about a novel that's talking about decision-making, and there's lots of ways to integrate it. We're not trying to impose SEL into health. Likewise, we have information that we're obligated to teach by the state of New Jersey, I almost said New York, by the state of New Jersey that says we have to do certain things in health. We can't throw out our entire health curriculum and say, all right, kids get together and let's hear what you wanted us to teach you. It doesn't work that way. We're not going to do that. We have to teach certain things. But integrating SEL in a whole staff mind, it's more than this idea of wellness and yoga. I think that it's really important for people to understand that this isn't a solution. It's a whole sort of way of thinking about decision-making and how kids are encountering issues in current problems.
2 things. One was, I thought it touched me the part that made sense to me when it talks about what leads an individual to have a successful life. And the focus was it's not the good grades, it's not being the best tennis player, it's not being the greatest singer in the world, it's the inner self and what goes into that, and that's different opportunities, involvement with peer tutoring, peer leadership, producing positive behaviors in school, not just the academics, that leads to the healthy, successful inner self. And then the other thing that I thought was very timely, I think, I'm just going to read the quote, the one that talks about this. When it's explaining the benefits to being able to incorporate these topics and start some sort of program. It says, initially, parents and educators may resist the idea of adding yet another content area to the curriculum, believing it will detract from children's academic education. However, it can actually enhance their ability to achieve. And I think, leading to what you're saying, I think that we don't know all the whys, we don't know all the hows, but we do know that there is a problem, and if we can focus on wellness and the inner life of the child and how they're feeling through working with peers, working with teachers, working with the community, having a place for this to take place, I do think it's a benefit. So I thought the first 3 chapters were very interesting.
As I was reading through the chapters, I found it sort of heartening that a lot of sort of concepts that were in the first 3 chapters are specifically things that we've been working on and trying to improve on for the last couple of years, including the emphasis on respect and working together in character education. And then the other recommendation here is, rather than having like a single one-off type of course, that they recommend that the SEL concepts be infused throughout the curriculum. So, I thought it was interesting to me because it kind of reflected things that we've been discussing for a couple of years.
I just wanted to add on to what Suzanne, what you just said about the little bit of confusion between health curriculum and SEL, because there's lots of opportunities to talk about the SEL type concepts and work on decision that in health class because of the topics that we talk about. But I was looking at if you guys aren't familiar, when you go on the district website under curriculum, you can go onto Rubicon and see the curriculum and standards for each class, and you can search by topics and stuff. And so I was looking at the health curriculum for several different grades at Ridge, and there's a lot of content in there that the state says we have to cover. So when you look at what the standards say, a lot of them are not something you could shove into a day or two. You know what I mean? It's a complex topic. And like while I agree with what some people said about certain topics and maybe being able to condense, certain lessons, because the kids do know a lot by the time they get to high school, and I'm sure there's room for some wiggle room, but the state keeps adding new things that we have to teach about. If you looked at how many different topics have been added just in the last 5 or 6 years that weren't in the standards before, and they should be in there, but these are important topics, and so in all, not just at the high school, but the middle school health program, which is why we expanded the length of the cycle for that too, because there's so many more topics, and we do want to cover bathing, we do want to cover all these things that weren't a big deal 10 years ago, maybe, or maybe we should have been talking about some of this stuff 10 years and we weren't 10 years ago. So anyway, I don't know how much room there is for wiggle room in the different health curricula. I do know that hopefully the way we're trying to schedule science labs will help some for next year, because the pullouts make it really difficult for health teachers to cram, especially when they're going to make sure everyone got something for driver's ed or whatever. They don't want to have kids missing important lessons that they need to know. So hopefully that will also help with being efficient.
One, like you guys have already said, one of the things that they talk about a lot in here, and in order to be successful, is the buy-in. So until we get student buy-in, parent buy-in, teacher buy-in, administrator buy-in, board of ed buy-in, everyone's getting bought in and agreeing, I don't know how successful we're going to be. If you keep having people working against each other, or not meeting in the middle, maybe, and having discussions and having to maybe compromise a little bit here and there, I don't see how we're going to get this to work and be successful for our kids. They do talk a lot about infusing it, so it's when it's one class, or infusing across all disciplines, all departments. There was this thought that I positive interaction with students, even some of the sort of local students, school leaders must deliberately create the kind of community in which adults and students want to learn and work. And it is up to everyone, the school leaders, the principals, the teachers, the staff, the student leaders, parents, to help create and maintain a strong, positive, challenging, and caring school environment. So until we are sort of all on the same page, or at least going in the same direction, I don't see us getting any better. I think we're all trying. I think everybody's heart is in the right place, but I do think that there's work to be done, even to get the behind it part of it.
I did read this, and you know what I liked about a lot of it has to do with, I think it's like professional development, like big. Because I like how it talks about, encouraging involvement, and it talks about, like the staff, like not only being involved with the kids they teach, like in their own classroom, but like involved with all the kids, so that like if something's going on, they can talk to kids that outside kids they know. So kind of like sort of more community, even so you're like, oh, I don't know that kid, so I'm not gonna. Not that they do that now, but so it's kind of like everyone has to be involved with everyone, so that feels a lot more like a community at the school. I like that talking about celebrating student accomplishment, talking about how like I think Jen was talking about that. Yeah, and I'm not just talking here, like I think they do all that, but it is nice to see different kids getting great skills and different things, and the honing the communication skills. That, because you can always be better communicator, always. Everything will always be communicated better, and more efficiently, more directly. So, and they say it's important because that's it, that you communicate well, and also how people are feeling, how that communication. But I think Aaron's right that if everyone, you can't do it with just like a couple of people. And and they call it SEL, but it's just really making the school feel better, making people better about going to school, feeling good about that they can talk to anyone at school, or and that's what it seems to talk about. And then if everyone's comfortable with it, they're going to do better. They're going to want to accomplish more because they like coming to school, they like being involved, or they feel welcome. And there's a lot of work people for that. And everyone has kids in school, they're in school, but there are those who they want to do that. There's lots of people, lots of years, oh, I can't do that. I do. So it's like you should do it.
The thing that I took away that was the cooperation between students, and obviously the faculty and staff as well, but and I think we're seeing that here with like Team Time, Oak Street's buddy system, and stress cluster groups. So those are things I certainly wish that I had when I was going through high school. I remember being very jealous of kids that had older siblings in my high school. So something like that, I think, goes a long way. I came back to the point in chapter 3 where they were talking about the literature reveals that when schools become nurturing, caring places, key characteristics become evident. And this is sort of like, I guess, the evaluative criteria, or they're suggesting, I keep coming to the fact of the point of how we're measuring our progress, right? We propose something, we implement it. How are we figuring out whether that works? I mean, you can walk through the school and see if the kids in this classroom are happy. But things like students feel a sense of self-worth and acceptance. Obviously, I think that's everybody's goal. If we run a stressor survey and it comes back 3.7 or 3.8 out of 5, what does that mean? I mean, do we want to just see that going up all the time? I think that is a very, very challenging part of SEL in general. I think there's a lot of ways to, a lot of suggestions of how to try to make it better, but the question is what's working better than one thing? And if you can move from 3.8 to 3.9, or is that a big difference, or should you just take it because that's a move up in the survey? Is that the survey is the only way to measure this stuff? That's the engineering me speaking, wanting some sort of concrete criteria. So maybe that's a bad way to look at this, but that was the two things that I took away from these first three chapters. And I'd be interested to hear if the teachers had any ideas on that aspect, like how are they quantifying SEL performance or improvement? If you have that.
Measure outcomes. That's one point that the book made. To Ms. Richmond's point, start hearing we're having a book discussion about a book that nobody out there has read. And I know the teachers are reading it. Can we put it up on our website? Like, this is the information about obtaining the book so that we go on with that?
I actually just checked Amazon, it's not going to be available until February 18th. As I was listening to it, I tried to order it.
I wanted the public to know I just wasn't ready to be negative, and I didn't want to appear too negative, so I appreciate that a couple of other board members raised some of my concerns. I'm going to be honest, I read the first 3 chapters and they made me sad. They made me depressed. They made me feel despondent about all the work that we do because there's a ginormous amount of work to do. And to Mrs. Richmond's point, volume is enormous, and without it, we'll have nothing. And there's a lot in here that, in my opinion, is cited just in the first, I think it's chapter 2 actually, the section, schools in the Gentile passage, at the risk of putting a little target on my back, but to teach, model, and encourage the development of social and emotional competency while conducting extracurricular activities. I probably don't need to read more, but I'm going to. Schools must do whatever possible to ensure that the message and experience students receive during the school day are similar to what they receive in athletics and extracurricular programs. For this reason, coaches and activity moderators must also understand, agree to, and be held accountable for promoting the fundamental messages of social and emotional learning. So we come here often. No, I've had a high school student at Ridge High School since 2007. Yes, that makes me very old. But, well, sorry, not the oldest, but close. And I'm sad to say that in those 11 years, it hasn't gone in the right direction. But a lot of what we're experiencing right now did exist in 2007-8 when my oldest daughter came to Ridge High School. So I don't know what happened, and I don't know how we got here, but I can tell you from almost 15 years of sitting out there, followed by almost 5 years of sitting here, it's not for lack of trying. So anyone who thinks they have the answers, great, join the conversation. I love what Ms. Schaefer just recommended, that read the book with us, and then when we highlight passages, you'll have context for it, because we're trying, we're really trying, and there is no magic bullet, we can't isolate solutions, and I can just say, well, here's the solution to the problem, because if it were that simple, it would be fixed already. Society is maybe working against some of the things we're facing right now, and we just have to keep working at it. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be so negative.
Maybe this is shared a bit, because I'm going to focus more on looking at it. Because I sit on the Culture and Climate Committee with the work that they're doing with United Way. And as I was reading this, I was thinking, oh, okay, we're doing this. And that made me really happy. And to see that, you know, that looking at the surveys from the parents, from the teachers, from the students, coming up with, you know, on a scale, where are we, where would we like to be, after looking through all the data, what are, let's say 2, it's really only viable to pick 2 things to work on at a time. Otherwise, there's just too much, you lose opportunity. So as I was reading this, I was thinking a lot about that, and I thought, oh, this is a great idea. They could do this at William Meeting. So there's a comment about ways to bring kids and get them involved. And one of the things it talks about, and we do this, I'm sure all the elementary schools do this, they have fifth graders, I speak for Cedar Hill because I was a Cedar Hill parent, fifth graders tour new students before school starts. Well, and here they recommend, before school begins, have seventh graders come in and tour the incoming sixth graders around. And I was like, wow, this ties right into how we're saying we want to be able to use the older kids' knowledge, their experiences, to be mentors to children that are younger than them. So we're already going to be doing it with the peer leadership for the incoming ninth graders. Like, this is something that would be such an easy thing to do because the sixth graders already come in and they walk through. Some of them are lucky enough to have an older sibling who does it, but they don't schedule older students to come in and be there for that walkthrough.
So we mentioned that at advocacy we were at Liberty Corner School the other day, and it was awesome. Those kids were so great and talking about their character education stuff. And they were lamenting that they were worried about going to sixth grade at Annan and how this is going to change and the kids being mean. And I had suggested, ironically, that maybe we need to have the little ones go up to the high school to mentor them about character ed and say, remember you learned all this stuff when you were really little. So to the parent who said that, we've done a lot of stuff at the lower levels. I mean, my heart breaks a little. I have a middle schooler and a high schooler, but at least there's something. And hopefully some of that will carry up. It doesn't mean that we can't stop working at the upper levels, but some of that hopefully will bubble up, and we can keep at it. We just got to keep at it. Anyone else?
So I just wanted to say, I hope that I didn't offend anyone and sound like I was like chastising anyone for, I mean, we were upset by some of the emails we got and some of the comments and some of the stuff that's been said. I'm not gonna deny that, but I think what made me upset is when we're talking about this buy-in, if we're all gonna work together to make something happen, we have to be more united and be able to talk to each other. And that's what made me sad about, I guess, a lot of the stuff that's been going on the last several weeks is that we want to have conversations with the community, and we always have. And so I feel like, there's a lot of common ground. We all want the best for the kids, and we all want the same thing, I think. And so I think that we have to be able to communicate and learn something from these little corner kids about how to talk to each other. But I think there is a lot of great stuff going on. I mean, I definitely noticed it. Like, I have a seventh grader now, and I've noticed a lot of things that are different now at WAMS than when my older kids were there, and it's all positive, so that's great. And I've noticed the same thing that Stacy mentioned. So there's a lot of good stuff going on, and I think we just have to keep, like you just said, keep working at it. And so, my comments weren't, intended to create more negativity. I just feel like we have to get into a way of communicating that is going to be productive. And you guys have great ideas. I mean, we've gotten so many emails with really great suggestions and positive, productive things that we can take in. Even feedback. So, 95% of it was all good. So I just wanted to make sure people know that.
Stacey had mentioned bringing someone in. We did that. ESS, right?
Up at high school, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've done, there's,
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's another source of frustration is we've been trying to do a lot of stuff with parents. There's one this Wednesday night. And sometimes the turnout is disappointing because a lot of the ones I've gone to have been really good. I mean, I'm on my, my 5th 13-year-old and I'm still learning helpful things at these parent events that I think, I don't know why more parents don't come. I know it's really difficult to get out at night and everyone's busy, but there's a lot of opportunities. And I think, having common dialogue, like one of the ones I went to was in the media center at Ridge, and the parents were all, it was almost like a big group therapy session. Everyone was talking to each other, but I think, getting support from other parents and seeing that other parents are struggling with the same things is very helpful. So hopefully, encourage your friends to come out. Because I know some of you are the ones that do show up. But encourage your friends to come to some of these parent forums and stuff like that too. Wednesday night, 6:30, where? Ridge? Back? Next check-in.
Rich Pack, 6:30. What's the title? The Nurtured Heart. Okay. Okay, so at this point, anyone else have anything? I'm going to close board forum. Does someone want to make a motion for adjournment? Jen Corn and Tim. All in favor?